This time on the greats. Mother Teresa's mission of mercy. Footwear artist Manolo Blahnik. Dame Vera Lynn, the Force's sweetheart. And explorer Edmund Hillary. But first, Winston Churchill, Part 2. When the Conservatives were voted out of office in 1945, Winston Churchill was 71 years old, an age when most politicians would be thinking about retirement. But Churchill remained leader of the party in opposition and persistently hounded the Labour government on security matters as the Cold War developed. The Tories lost the 1950 general election, but were elected to government in 1951, and 77-year-old Churchill became Prime Minister for the second time. He concentrated his energies on renewing Britain's relationship with the United States, forging close ties with the Truman and Eisenhower administrations. But age was catching up with the great man, and he suffered a stroke in 1953, although the public was told his collapse was due to exhaustion. Churchill stood down as Prime Minister 2 years later, handing the reins of power to Anthony Eden, the husband of his niece, but continued to serve as a Member of Parliament for another decade. In 1963, his son traveled to the United States as a representative of his ailing father to accept the first ever honorary American citizenship the nation had ever granted. President John F. Kennedy's presentation recognized the invaluable role Churchill played in furthering the Anglo-American alliance. Churchill was a trusted advisor and confidant to 3 presidents, and his diplomacy helped Britain punch well above its weight as a world power. While Churchill's political career ended gloriously on his own terms, his personal life was not as successful. Throughout his life, he suffered from the bouts of depression he termed the Black Dog. In 1963, his daughter Diana committed suicide. Churchill's love of art, literature, and travel provided a refuge for the great man. He held exhibitions of his paintings, won the Nobel Prize for Literature for his historical writings, and traveled the world with friends such as the shipping magnate Aristotle Onassis. To honor Churchill's achievements, Queen Elizabeth knighted him and invested him with the Order of the Garter in 1953. There was also a plan to award him a dukedom rather than the customary earldom bestowed on retiring prime ministers, a mark of unparalleled respect. However, Churchill turned down the offer to become Duke of London because the title would have been hereditary and prevented his son from taking up a political career in the House of Commons. Churchill was admired by many people around the world. His bodyguard for 15 years, Edmund Murray, recalled an incident in the 1950s when Eleanor Roosevelt said to him, "You have a most interesting job, Mr. Murray, guarding the most wonderful statesman of all time." Churchill's support during the abdication crisis of the former Edward VIII was also never forgotten, with the Duke of Windsor counting Sir Winston as one of his greatest friends. On the 24th of January 1965, Churchill died of complications following a stroke. The nation was plunged into mourning, and his body lay in state for 3 days. His coffin was taken by barge along the Thames, and the cranes at London's docklands bowed in a salute. Churchill's funeral was held at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, the first non-royal state funeral since 1914. Dignitaries from more than 100 countries attended, and thousands stood in silence across England when the train carrying his coffin passed them on its way to the burial ground near Blenheim Palace, his ancestral home. The tombstone had to be replaced in 1998 because of the huge number of people visiting his grave every year to pay their respects. In 2002, Sir Winston Churchill was voted the greatest of 100 greatest Britons in a BBC poll. Time magazine rated him one of the most influential leaders in history. Churchill's steadfast defense of his country in the face of German aggression and his enduring devotion to Britain's interests deservedly see him remembered as one of the greatest statesmen of all time. Sir Winston shaped world affairs for more than half a century. The world will not see his like again, and his legacy will never be forgotten.